because Gen 2 came into light. No. Gen 2 is not a replacement for Gen 1, remember. Not at all. Olden days we used to have something called ADLS Gen 1. In ADLS Gen 1 we used to create something called databases. Okay, olden days I'm talking about. We used to have something called database, schema, data, etc. using Visual Studio. Functions, procedures, etc. Few of these concepts are moved to Azure SQL database and few other concepts are moved to Azure Synapse to boost SQL server sales. And they were successful. We got SQL Server 2022 recent release. Previously it used to be a private preview until before last week. Last week came public preview with unimaginable cost, less 30% less than the previous licensing cost. They reduce the price to increase the market. 2022, the new release for SQL Server, okay, just in case. We had the download link on the website already. I'll share the website link, the download link. And I had a video also on how to install and how to use it. As is, minor add-ons. Where we are, I'm just about to type something here, right? This one, friends, simple and straight. ADLS Gen 1. We used to have something called USQL databases. Files. Now, these USQL databases were moved to something called Synapse environment or Synapse SQL pool, and files were moved into ADLS Gen 2. So now in Gen 2, we cannot store any database, only files. In SQL pool, we cannot store any files, only databases. Okay, so you see these terms in DP203. You used to see these terms in DP200, 201 holder certifications. Back to our game. Our requirement, incremental loads. Gen 1 to Gen 2. Here, remember one thing. I said USQL is a language. C# plus TSQL together. C# plus Transact SQL together. Now we need not worry about it because we got the replacement Spark SQL. This supports Spark SQL, part of our course, next week classes. Using Spark SQL, we can do everything we used to do in USQL in older days. Let's do it carefully now. Where we are? Source ready, destination to be ready. Data lake storage Gen 2. Back once again, friends, observe carefully. Data lake storage Gen 2. Continue. Same auto resolving IR because within Azure. Storage account 2. Test connection. Create. Next week we are going to understand parameterized connections. Browse. For now, static connections. Next week agenda, parameterized connections. Dynamic connections. Container OK. Where in data lake storage? Yes, it's data lake storage Gen 2. The connection name is taken as 1, 2, etc. The linked service names. Go back. Connection. Blob storage 2. This is a data storage. Destination, data lake storage. Earlier blob, now data lake. File name. For time being, I don't mention any file name, leave it as it is. And next. Remember, we already said copy behavior as incremental loads, binary copy. So this is file incremental loads. Staging optional, logging optional. DIU auto. Auto means default. Default is 1. Auto is 1, you make it 2, 3, 4, etc. Now, here it is. There is something called DOCP, the leftover, pending since day for yesterday's class. Relation between DIU and DOCP. It should be a multiple. DOCP should be a multiple of DIU. In your class notes earlier, you got a small diagram. Hope you refer to it, earlier classes. There you see multiple lines. Here we go. DOCP, degree of copy parallelism. How many parallel threads can be involved in extracting the data or pumping the data? How many threads can be involved in data extraction and data pumping activities? That is called DOCP. DOP means degree of parallelism, the storage level, producer level, data production level, or data sync level. I understand this way. Yes, it's a weekend time and we generally see some relaxation in the family. I generally experience this way. During weekends, my elder son says, "Dad, I want noodles." I ask my younger son, "What do you want, Bobby?" "No, Dad, I am very busy with my video games now. It's a weekend, don't disturb me." Fine, weekend, right? So relaxation, that's different. So I place order for noodles. Then suddenly, something struck my younger son's mind and say, "Dad, I want something else. Some burger or something else." But we know one particular restaurant where the taste is good, bit costly but taste is good, and we trust the quality for some reason. So I need to place the order again. The chef is going to prepare the items in parallel, assume that way now. Orders are different, right? So the Zomato or Swiggy, the delivery entries will be different now. Same source and same destination, but parallel commute, parallel tracking. It happens sometimes. Sometimes, yes, of course, it can be staged into a single order. It may, depending on the time interval or the time difference between the orders and the other orders at the source pending. It depends on the traffic of orders. But otherwise, in general, 2 different orders, so 2 different deliveries. Though we enjoy free delivery, still 2 different deliveries will be available there. That is DOCP. The traffic is DOCP. The chef preparing the items in parallel, DOP. The actual content being delivered over the traffic, DOCP. Parallel threads. Why it is? Yes, because it depends on the timeline and the type of data. Here, in the earlier classes, we got something called DOP. If you remember, last week we had DOP while creating the table. If you remember, friends, we get max DOP. The max DOP refers to number of rows that are stored in parallel at a time in a distribution. Last week understanding. Here DOCP means number of threads used to read the data. Observe carefully. For example, I'm writing something in my diary. Yes, DOP is one hand, one writing. But for reading, myself and my wife can read together. DOP is 2. Something like that. Understand that way. So reading can have some parallelism. Writing can have some parallelism. Both parallelisms are different. Here we are talking about DOCP. Now the actual point here, DIUs, they play a vital role. DIUs mean, remember, They are alternatives for Spark cluster, right? You remember, friends? Previous class, last two classes, Spark cluster nodes. Remember, friends, everyone? Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Last two classes, no DIUs, right? You remember we have Spark clusters there. Right? Those are the execution units, processing units. Like cores we call, processor cores. Now, if you are from SQL Server background, nothing new, okay? Really, nothing new. Any technology changes, analogy remains same. For example, see here, friends. If you are from SQL Server or Oracle or Sybase or even Postgres anyway, these are like DIUs. For example, I can have one DIU, two DIUs, three max, four limit. If it is cloud, virtual processing, no limit. My local server limit. These are like DIUs, okay? And here you see maximum worker threads. These are like DOCP. Something like that. Maximum number of threads that can run in parallel. It purely depends on number of processing nodes. Less the number of processing nodes, lesser threads to be invested. So DIUs will decide the number of or the amount of DOCP activity. Getting some idea, everyone, please? Are we getting it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Fine. Now, Microsoft recommendation, multiples. Each DIU can handle, say, 2 threads now. Or each DIU can handle, for example, 8 3 is 24. 3 threads, something like that. It should be multiple, recommended practice. But remember, more the number of DIUs, more cost. Next, what we did so far? Source, sync, and scheduled it, right? Scheduled it. Now, we scheduled it, right? So, pipeline will not get executed immediately. We scheduled it to run every hour. So, first execution starts after 1 hour, remember. First execution will not be immediate. If I go to monitor, I don't see the pipeline execution because we're scheduled, right? No results to show. In earlier examples, it used to execute immediately. Do you remember, friends? Last week, early this week, we used to have it immediately, right? Do you remember that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
What I do? Yes, I go to pipeline. Let's execute the pipeline manually for time being. This one. Well, file incremental loads, this one. Go to trigger now. Okay, this way. Go to trigger and now. Yes, the incremental loads usually require something called timestamps, right? Those timestamps will be taken care automatically by data factory. Things made very easy. If you observe carefully at the source, I don't have any timestamp column. Taken care by data factory automatically. And how it works for the tables, we are going to understand next. Nice improvements in incremental loads for tables. Very recent past. Last 6 to 7 months. Nice new options in data factory. We'll do it now. We'll see both. For incremental loads, we'll see how it used to work in older days and how it is now. We got something called upset. I was writing this term upset. Fourth copy method last week, third class. You remember copy methods, polybase, bulk insert, copy, command, and upset. 4 methods used to be there. Hope you remember them. was writing
Yes,
the
sir.
.SQL file.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, we are still pending with the upset, right? We'll do it for incremental loads. Where we are right now? Yes, we got the pipeline executed. Refresh. And file will be auto created. Data would be auto inserted. Where storage account 2. Now let's wait something like this. What I'll do, back to source, storage account 1. I'll do structural updates and data updates. Click save. Some structural updates and data updates. Where at the source? My sync is still having older version. Now what I'll do? Trigger. Now click OK. Just trigger it once again. You may wait for 1 hour. I schedule for every hour. Just execute once again now. Here 1 means 1 schedule. We can have multiple schedules as well. And back to the pipeline, refresh. Or just go to container here. 750 just now, 750, and there you got update. Edit to verify the changes. See there, you got the structural update and data inserts. Same way you may try to include some changes to existing data. Save it. Go to data factory. Right now it is in storage account 1. Save it. Then once again trigger. Go to data factory. Pipeline is going on. Let's wait for a few minutes. Go to storage account 2 and refresh. We should be able to see the new changes, right? Like this. So any content change at the source is automatically given to destination. This concept we are going to apply for tables in the next class using the pending copy